So now let's get down to hosting and PBN footprints. First of all, let's actually go through what you need to look for when you're looking for PBN hosting. Now, multiple IPs is going to be a major part of this because one of the first giveaways is if all of your network is on one IP. So when you set up a WordPress site, quite often they will all be having or be using a shared IP or shared name server. You'll have noticed this when you actually set it up and you register your domain with your hosting, and you'll be able to see there where your IP and name or what your IP and name server are. Now, if you've got 10 blogs and they all have exactly the same IP and name server, that's going to be a dead giveaway straight away. Search engines are going to be able to see that you are one entity running this whole network quite easily. So you need to find hosting that offers you as much uniqueness with the hosting as you can. So definitely separate IPs, unique name servers, not too cheap, because sometimes when you go with the really cheap packages, sometimes the hosting doesn't do a great job of actually making them look any different at all. They're quite clearly registered with the same registrar coming off the same server, which again is another footprint. These things are all super important, so let's actually get down to a bit more detail on each one. So we're going to be splitting this up into footprints left by hosting, footprints left by setting up your PBN, and then site content and linking footprints. And before we get into that, of course, the hosting footprints, like I said earlier, find a host with separate IPs for each site, different name servers. You want to check that their servers are actually hosted all around the world rather than in one area. So when you're Googling hosting, try and Google PBN hosting rather than WordPress hosting. WordPress hosting primarily likes to go on one IP address for your whole network. So you could have 10 WordPress sites on there, quite possibly all using the same IP. So footprints left by setting up your PBN, what are they? Well, first of all, it's going to be your email. Are you setting up all of your PBN? So all of your PBN blogs, are they set up on the same admin email? Let's say mine's jdog@gmail.com. I want to be changing that. So if I've got a domain over here, I want to be registering that with jdog.com. I might have another email to register another one, so on and so on, because you don't want all your emails to be matching up for the admin. Make sure that your username, so you know when you sign up, and you might even change your name to a nickname on WordPress, so every time you're posting, make sure that is also different. If, let's say, mine is JDog on 100 different sites, the search engines are eventually going to realise that this one entity, or the same entity, what it seems like, is posting on every single web page with the same exact name. This will then make them want to investigate a little bit further, and really we don't even want to get to that point. We want to get to the point where our PBN looks so organic, even if it was to get looked at, they wouldn't think of it as a PBN. The settings of your PBN is actually also quite a key part of footprints. If your settings match exactly over 100 different blogs which you're using in your network, that's also going to be a dead giveaway to the search engines that you are one person controlling this entire network. Because if you think organically, if this was 100 different people with 100 different websites, there is absolutely no way that all of their settings would match exactly with the same username, the same email address. It even goes as far as looking at the same plugins, the same appearance. We'll go into that a little bit later. So whilst you are setting up your PBN, just make sure that you are keeping it unique. One blog shouldn't really match another one, and you definitely should not be using the same content within each blog. So don't copy and paste. That is a definite way of leaving a footprint that will come back to you. Next up, we're going to go with site content and footprints left with the content that you're creating and also the links. You don't really want to be linking in and out to each other. You want to be linking mostly to your website, your main money site, and with one link. A dead giveaway for PBNs is also then linking towards each other. Not that I don't say that you shouldn't link towards each other, because sometimes you can actually find some really relative posts, but really you just got to think about how obvious you're making it. If all of your links throughout all of your PBN are pointing only towards each other to try and make each other grow, people can then connect the dots. The search engines will connect the dots, saying, okay, well, this entire network only seems to be pointing towards each other. Then they might go a little bit further by checking who the emails, doing a whois check on the domains, and quite shortly you might have your PBN network shut down. So use your links tactically. Do not overlink other sites. If you are going to leave a link to one site, however, mix it in with other links. Let's say I do one blog post and I'm going to be adding a backlink to another one of my blogs. I'm going to make sure that within that content there are many other links as well. Not many making it spammy, but I mean ones with more authority. So let's say, for instance, again, if I'm doing a Minecraft tutorial, I might have links going up to the wiki, the main Dig Minecraft site, or actual Minecraft itself, along with some smaller links to other places. Of course, you don't have to do follows, and you shouldn't be given do follows, because you're also handing out SEO power. But you should definitely try and mix your links up a bit to make it much more organic. If you're only getting one or two links to only your network sites, that's going to be leaving a footprint eventually. Of course, make your blogs look unique, like we just said earlier. They don't copy and paste stuff over. that's going to look really, and it's going to be quite discoverable, because word by word they can just search that like 2 or 3 blogs have exactly the same content. And Google actually quite likes unique long content, so if you're doing quite long blog posts about unique stuff that isn't out there on the web, especially word by word, it's going to be sending a lot more traffic towards that, towards something that might have been copied 4 times over. Of course, you can use quotation marks and use a little excerpt, maybe leave a tag or like a link to that page, but again, that's going a bit too far for PBN. We want to keep it looking organic. You got to make sure that you're structuring your blogs differently. Don't structure them all the same. It's going to be a giveaway for the footprints right there, because again, if you had 100 different blogs, then by 100 different people, or supposed to be anyway, rather than one entity, they're not going to look all the same. There is no way that all the settings would match, the structure would match, the same widgets in the same area. Also stuff like themes, appearances of the website got to differ a bit. Anchor links are an essential one also. If you keep backlinking to your money site, you want to make sure that the anchor links are different. If they're all the same, again, quite noticeable. If let's say my site JDog Official keeps getting the link for JDog Official, after about 20 or 30 links, it might start to look suspicious that every single link by what's supposed to be many different people from different websites is going through the same anchor link. You know, really to make it look more organic, some people might say Minecraft tutorials, JDog videos, YouTube of this, you know, use different anchor links, or sometimes just the naked URL. So, you know, the whole URL, say I went to this site, blah, blah, blah.com, and that's going to look a lot better than just many of the same anchor links. I would also actually say, if you started an Excel spreadsheet, this would actually really help for that. Start to take note of your actual links at this point. So when you do create a do follow backlink from one of your blogs, make sure that you note it down somewhere. Make sure that you note down the date, the anchor name or the anchor link, what URL went to, where it come from, so that way when you do another one, you can make sure that you're not duplicating, because really we want one good backlink from each blog rather than many coming out of each one. And again, make sure you are careful where you link to. You want to be linking to good sites, don't link to other spammy sites. That won't look good on your network altogether anyway. Now, some people do go as far as saying, but what if I use the same PC? Now, I'm going to be honest, it's actually, you know, they don't have enough time of the day to be checking if every single one is run off the same PC. They're going to be looking like the footprints that we just mentioned now, whether it's the same registrars, if they check the who is it the same admin email for all of these? And really, it's only going to be when you raise suspicion where you're going to get investigated further. So if you're copying and pasting a lot of content, that will raise suspicion, enough for them to want to look at you. So you don't even want to get to that point. You want all of your blogs to look so organic that there's going to be no point for any search engine to want to investigate further, just to make sure that you're not a PBN. So one of the key factors before you get set up is just make sure that you have emails that you have access to which do differ. Just making sure that everything looks really unique, and definitely don't be copying and pasting content from one blog to another one. It might be really great content and it might be bringing one a lot of traffic. However, putting it to another blog with exactly the same wording, images and stuff like that isn't going to look great. In fact, that's going to deteriorate from both the blog sites, because now one of them has definitely copied it from the other.